Today I want to rewatch the announcement cinematic for Diablo 4. There's a lot to be talked about here in terms of the references they had, the great artists that worked on the project. So I'm going to break down scenes and stop along the way to really understand and look at other websites and references. All links will be in the description. I've done a little bit of this with the work of Brom and Igor Sid here on the channel previously. I'll probably get back to the team of Diablo 4. This is such a big production with a lot of amazing artists on it. So, and I'm really passionate about this game. So it's definitely worth coming back and something that I feel really good about doing. So yeah, without further ado, let's jump right in. I love how we always have trailers for the trailers, as I mentioned in other videos like this. So just before we jump in, one important thing to know, and I don't know if you all have this information, is that this video came after a very bad BlizzCon in terms of public relations, so they really needed a blast here. They needed a cinematic that would bring the tone back. So this is why, and we'll get to the Easter egg straight away. This is why I think they went with this opening, a very thematic. We've seen this before in the Diablo series. So all the symbols and as well as the Easter egg later on, they needed to go straight away to the core message of what Diablo is, what Diablo stands for. So here it is. I don't know if you watched the intro cinematic for Diablo 1. I'm gonna play that here. It's interesting to go back to that if you have the time later on. The link's in the description. But if you look at this scene, you can see that the sound design is way better in the new one. But we can see already even the composition is very, very close to what it was before, as well as the window here and the sound and so on. So we have that in the new version as well. And already a kind of cathedral-like structure to bring us back to Tristram and all the symbolism that we've seen before in Diablo series. If you played the game, you will know that this cinematic has a dungeon, playable dungeon. I'm not gonna go into too much detail on that, so we are spoiler free, but you do have that. So it's interesting to see the correlation as well of the places that we're visiting here, as well as what we are able to visit in the game. I just wanna play a little more of this clip. I would love to see this coming back, but it didn't. It was, I think, too gore for what they wanted to do. They get to the gore part later on, but it's interesting to see that 1997 they were able to get this amount of storytelling, feeling, and gore to the 3D. So also an interesting thing to have to look at. I love the bird eye shots, like almost a plan view, so you understand the overall place.
Verhasselt. Run!
Here, I do feel a little bit of a reference to the Mines of Moria from Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. So going into the hole. The graphic design is also really good. Characters, so on.
Keep running.
This scene is really good to stop right here and look at some of the details. We already seen the church, as well as now the overall environment. I do believe this environment that we're seeing is a matte painting, so it was painted. I don't know for sure. I know a lot of this was modeled, but as you have a lot of layers of depth here, sometimes it's easier to paint over that and have the overall mood that you want. But there is an amazing post by the team working on this game. I'll add the link as well, going through all the details. So it's interesting to go back to the Diablo 1 model and look at the difference in the amount of polygons and the quality of textures and so on. We see a very thoughtful and labor-intensive work here on the environments. The overall team is great. You can see a lot of their work here on ArtStation as well. I love these shots, especially this one and one later on. We can definitely see the size of this. Just one quick small spoiler: when you're playing this dungeon, you zoom out in the game, so you see the massive verticality. This also reminds me a lot of the Mines of Moria scene, so I think they got a lot of references from there, from one of the best scenes in Fellowship of the Ring, where they're being followed. There is a lot of mystery there, in a very big, imposing environment. So I think that works really well in here as well. So you can see all the details, and we'll get to this part later on.
Are you out of your mind? He's not going to make it!
He has to.
Listen, Akarat. My eternal light protects me. My divine force guides
Look at me! All the gold we want is right there.
One thing they do discuss is how they try to get photoreal with, especially with textures and materials, but not that photoreal with overall features. So they have artistic license to change a little bit of that, so that you don't go the hyper real live action almost kind of feeling that Blizzard doesn't go to, never actually, but very often. So it's interesting to see how that was translated here in all the materials and
knowledge.
the facial proportions.
Coming!
I know.
Get over here!
Now,
Reach the seal! Get us through that door!
Oh, Lord, help me.
Another interesting point, and we'll see that in other cinematics videos that I make, is that Blizzard doesn't use mocap, so motion capture. Even if they actually do, at some point, they're going to change that very much. But they normally, from what I've seen in a lot of behind the scenes videos and so on, they animate everything, even lip sync and all the movements. They have a lot of video footage for that, but they are all hand animated, keyframe animations, and so on.
For by three they come. By three thy way opens. Blood shows. This doesn't make any sense.
I love the details on the floor, the ornaments.
Blood. Blood is the key. Blood is the key!
What?
I told you!
Go! I'll hold them! Go!
Sorry, it says the...
It's great to see some of the designs, and I did find these artworks from BlizzCon, I think 2019, where they showed some of the concept work for early development of Diablo 4 as well as this cinematic. So this work by Jonathan Fletcher, I'll have his link in the description as well. So it's great to see the behind the scenes with a lot of those, and we'll look at the other character later on when we get there.
The blood of the willing goes.
You gotta be kidding me!
Sound design is also amazing.
It worked!
We have to help him.
He's dead, old.
We've seen in my other video on the Napoleon trailer the use of warm and cool. That's pretty much canon to this point in movie making and cinematic making. But we also use a lot of that here, almost a moonlight kind of backlight and rim light, and a more direct light coming from torches and fire. So you have this counterbalance of warm and cool palettes, blues and oranges to create the overall mood. It can be overused at some point. It's interesting to see how like Michael Bay and Transformers people are almost orange because of all of the color correction later on.
Red.
One thing we're gonna notice here is the use of silence.
It's a shame he didn't make it. Oh well, cheer up. Gold split's better 3 ways instead of 4.
We've seen this before in the blog post, so it's interesting to come back here and see the model. You do have the opportunity to play through this area, as I mentioned before, so a lot of this, not these models, because they're very heavy for a final game, but a lot of the influence here went into the final game. So the detailing, all the graphic ornaments and so on, that's really great. I'll add to the description one of the graphic designers that worked on the game. Very good work as well, Fernando. So some of the models, the clay models without the textures and the materials, and we get to the character. If you've seen the cinematic, you will recognize. It's great to see the full model with all the wireframe. I love to see how the edge loops are really, really well thought out. Great modeling skills here. Some of the development for the characters. What we mentioned before of the stylization, going a little away from hyperreal, but staying in a believable setting for realism. Once again, the model and the barbarian-like. So really great to see some of the monsters that follow them. Interesting to see the clay model. Not that scary. And the final one that we'll see in a bit.
Must be hidden here somewhere. Read this.
I love how they use this kind of bird eye shot to give a sense of the space and the size of this.
Somewhere.
And the use of sound design
By 3 they come.
is really important here
here.
to give
Willing.
the echo in the overall
Hail.
big space.
Hail the.
I would love to see more
Creator.
details from this part. I think this one should be modeled because they're spinning the camera, but could be projection of a matte painting as well. I would love to see more on the process here.
Hail, the daughter of... Oh, no. No.
What about the coin? What's
You
it
see
say?
that the expressions are
What about the
almost cartoony to some extent because they are hand animated.
coin? What's it say?
This is forbidden. This is a summoning. I cannot speak.
Don't lie to me! We came here for treasure. What is this place?
I don't know. Maybe it's a temple. Or a tomb, or...
This is the best part, sound design. It's great how they changed rapidly the color palette from this kind of yellowish, warm to very, very cold palette from one shot to the other. And they use this upshot, downward shot, actually, to give this sense of scary.
Is the key.
Very thought out functionality of that as well.
Bless my God. Those on the line protects me. The divine wisdom guides me. Though my path is not the path, guide my soul to thy sacred ways.
From the abyss, we seek thy salvation. Thy free may come. Free thy way opens. By the blood of the willing.
I love this design. One of the best designs, in my opinion, for all the game. If you play the game, you definitely know who this character is. But at this point, it was called like mysterious character. But it's great to see, and I tried to find where this design came from because we can see a little snippet here. So I went into Jonathan's Instagram, and you have some of the more detailed concepts in there. I love the well thought out, and he even mentions that it's based on an existing illustration from the game team. I don't know which one is that. I would love to see. Potentially, it's one that was also presented by Victor Lee, presented at BlizzCon. You can see a better version of it in here, where we see a more slim, kind of almost Maleficent view of Lilith. I think that's why they changed that a little bit as well to the final design. But we see more of an earlier version, almost like necromancer kind of view of the mysterious character with the belly button ring that we don't have in the final design, at least as visible. If we come back here to Jonathan's Instagram, we can definitely see that this design was changed for the belly button ring to be on the clothing, or at least covered by the clothing. But I think it's in the clothing, and we can see a little more detail here. If we jump back to the final design, it's way closer to what we have in the final version as well. So really interesting to see. I would love to see more designs. I have seen the art book that comes in collector's edition, but there's not much exploration from this mysterious character in there. There's also a post from Samuel here. I'll add the link to the description, showing a little bit of the look development process and more shots if you want to draw a little bit and learn from that. But some of the development of the materials and the rendering for the final product, even like turntables and so on. Really great to see. So definitely get back to that later on.
Call thee home. Come.
Listen, Everett. The eternal light protects me.
This shot is really great.
Open your eyes.
Very centralized.
Eternal light protects me. Eternal light protects me. Eternal light protects me. Eternal light protects me. Eternal
There
light.
is no light here. You came to the darkness for knowledge.
Yes.
Just remember that those eyes were hand animated by someone. So all the emotion in there, really great.
And all the knowledge you seek is here. Surrender.
At least that's how it used to be. If it's different and you know about it, please share in the comments.
Words. Call her home.
The use of silence.
By 3, they come. By 3, thy way opens. By the blood of the willing, we call thee home.
And that's where we get really to the gore part. I love this shot. It's great that I could also find in Life at Blizzard Twitter. There is this post that has some of the concept designs for this scene. So this first one by Mathias Verhasselt. Mathias has worked at Blizzard Cinematics for a long time. I think he's currently at SpaceX, if I'm not mistaken. But he did a lot of design work, a lot of light painting. His work is amazing. I'll add links to the description. So I love this. It has a lot of correlation with what we're seeing here, and we'll change the angle straight away. And then we'll see the other one.
Hail, daughter of hatred.
The palette has changed once again for a very reddish.
Creator of sanctuary. Hail.
One thing I just noticed is the amount of subsurface scattering that you can see in her face when she comes out.
Creator of sanctuary.
See that here? The amount of subsurface scattering. This is one of the best designs, in my opinion, for Lilith.
Hail. Lilith.
This eye shot almost reminds me of the eye with the crow from Diablo 1. It's the gore, the closest we get to that shot. This is so good.
Blessed Mother.
this design is really good. We saw some of the design work for Lilith in my video about Braum. I would love to see more designs, but I think this is the closest to some exploration that we've seen there. And we definitely lost this design inside the game. Sorry if this is a spoiler, but we don't have this exact design. I would love to see that again sometime in the future. I don't think it's going to be that because she's being born in this kind of stuff and it evolves into different stuff. But this is great.
Save us.
We also have some design explorations for that. I'll just jump into some of the design work here. So Manuel Dischinger, sorry if I'm butchering your name, but some concepts for that with that subsurface scattering that we saw before, almost like an internal lighting kind of burning inside. If you've seen videos on color and light and so on, this is subsurface scattering used in a different way, but a very interesting way as well. So we see a lot of that from these two designs that he did. Also, this scene will come just around the corner. I love the small detailing of this kind of lines of tissue. This shot is super great. I had this as my background for a long time, and that's basically it. I heard from a talk at Lightbox that it has a little bit of the inspiration from Botticelli's Venus. So it's interesting, the mentality of the birth of the Venus kind of, and we can see a little bit of that in the shell form and a little bit of the influence. I think it started with a napkin sketch. I would love to see that as well. If you have any info on the production, please share in the comments. It would be awesome to see. So yeah, that's pretty much it from me. I hope you enjoyed this cinematic as much as I did. I hope you learned something from this video. If you did, you probably will enjoy other reactions I did, and I will do more in the future. If you like, please comment so I know you did enjoy, and then I'll definitely make more. So yeah, that's it from me. See you in another video. Hope you have a great day and take care.